Welcome back to the Girl Out of Order podcast. On today's episode, I am welcoming for the first time ever a couple. That's right, a man and a woman are coming on the Girl Out of Order podcast to share with us some powerful, powerful insights. In fact, Annie and John Meng are such a beautiful example of what it means to make love not only work, but to make it flourish. And in John's words, as you'll hear from him, to actually make it easy. Can you even imagine marriage made easy? I know it sounds like a crazy promise, but trust me, when you meet this incredible couple, you will understand what I'm talking about. So today we are welcoming John and Annie Meng, and I met Annie through the True Legacy Collective mastermind, which you guys have heard about, and her dear husband John. They've been together for several years now, and their story is non-traditional. It's outside the quote-unquote norms, but they have been able to navigate profound challenges to create a beautiful partnership, not only in life, but in business. And their passion is to share with people how to go from broken to built, how to go from constant conflict to resolving it and using conflict to build, deeper intimacy. Because John and Annie, they didn't just fix their relationship. They used it and continue to use it as a foundation to build the life that they've always wanted. And here's the great news. They're not keeping it to themselves. They want to share their message and their mission with the world. They've created Love Jaam, and it's an incredible conference and mastermind and mission to, like I said, teach people how they don't have to earn love, to teach people how to be love. You're going to enjoy this couple so much. So it's my profound honor to welcome the first ever couple on the Girl Out of Order podcast, John and Annie Meng. So welcome to the Girl Out of Order podcast, my friends, John and Annie Meng.
Hi, thanks for having us.
All right, I'm super excited to have you guys on. As I said in the intro, this is only the second time I've had a dude on the podcast, and it's the first time I've ever had a couple. And so I can't honestly think of a better couple to have on the Girl Out of Order podcast. This isn't an identity podcast. This is where we help women uncover, recover, or maybe for the first time ever, discover who they are and then live lives that are in alignment with that. And so I wanted to bring the two of you on because oftentimes our lives are lived as couples. And so what I'm hoping that we can, now I'm not hoping, I know it's going to happen. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what it means to create and live out an identity as a couple. And it obviously starts with two beautiful individuals. So Annie, we're going to start with you. If I were to walk up to you on the street, put a microphone in your face, which you know me, so you know I'm very likely to do, and ask you, who do you say that you are? How would you answer that question?
Oh, I mean, I told you, it depends on my mood of the day. But right now, I'd say I'm extremely happy. I'm a new mom. Recently discovered I really love being a wife, which is like a whole new identity. I really love being a wife. And very ambitious business person, a lover. That would be it.
I love that. And I want to just pull out one little thing because you are beautifully modest. I want you to tell us a little bit about your educational background because, girl, come on, it is so impressive.
Yeah, okay. This is that kind of introduction. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna ask the questions. I want to spotlight you.
I love finance. So I graduated from Wharton. I think a huge part of my story is pursuing the American dream. And so all the possibility that comes with that, it's been really my core identity. And really my mission is, like for me, my background's on Wall Street. And so I love helping connect people who need money, like all these entrepreneurs and people with ideas and making a difference in the world with people who have the money and the resources and just making things happen in the community. So that's my passion. I think that's anything you want to, that's probably it. Yeah. Is that what
All right. We're going to get into it more. That's a perfect start. But I wanted to kind of show our listeners a little bit of the textures of you because you are multifaceted, my friend. Okay, Mr. John, it's up to you. Same question. Who do you say you are?
Well, I've got to add one more thing for her because she doesn't say it ever. So she's also Miss Arizona.
I forget that.
She always forgets this. And,
I mean,
yeah, she's brilliant. She's so compassionate, loving. To me, it's like that's her greatest superpower is like she's like a little goddess of love. And she just sprinkles love all over the place, has this giant Annie smile. She brings so much positive energy to the world. And so to answer your question about me, I'm blessed is the best way I could say it. I've been so blessed to be able to be in her life and to find her when I did, and for her to live through this experience with me, going from a pretty low point in my life and then us building up this relationship, our life together to be able to serve other people. So I'm a servant leader. I've built and sold a business, again, in partnership with Annie, that we did the sale, and I've since left that industry, and I get to help people do the same. They get to help advise them and guide them through the process of selling their business. And I also get to help people create love, and we do that together where we get to help people create their dream relationship. And that's really, for me, that's my passion, is just helping people in relationship, because there's so much suffering in it for so many people, and it doesn't have to be. It can be actually ridiculously easy to be in love.
I love that. And you look like you were dying to say something.
Oh, I was gonna say that, because it's like he sees me different than I see myself, and I think that's a core part of the identity piece, because I always forget the Miss Arizona part, because that's just not how I identify with me, right? But so I think this is so on topic with your podcast of how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves as a couple.
I love that so much. And for the listeners, Annie and I are both members of the True Legacy Collective. You guys have heard me talk about TLC. It's my sisterhood. It's my family. And Annie this year is in my accountability pod. I am so blessed to be in leadership. And she is in my pod of, what is there, 6 of us? I think there's 6 of us. And what's so interesting is we are 6 extraordinarily different women. And I said to the ladies, if you remember this, Annie, that, it's our job to be both spotlights and mirrors. And I love that for the coupleship, because when you are in a healthy, and I know that's a little bit of a dicey word, but you're in a healthy, vibrant, mutually satisfying relationship, you want to spotlight your partner. You want to be like, hey, check this person out over here. You want to build them up, and you want to fill in the gaps that they don't even necessarily see, and be the mirrors for them to remind them, especially on those hard days, what they're worth, what they're capable of, and what they can learn when they make mistakes, when they fall, because we all do. Would you guys agree with that for a coupleship?
He does that for me all the time. Because we're in business together, and so sometimes most of the time, when he does amazing introduction of me, right? If we're meeting someone new or we're doing some sort of thing, right? And whenever he says my bio or introduces me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. It's like a reminder, which is very different than how I experience myself every day. And I do the same for him, hopefully.
That was my next question. John, do you feel like she does the same for you?
Oh, for sure. It's very complementary. So in many ways, we're opposites, right? We have a lot in common, but as far as how we behave and in some of our core, even limiting beliefs, they're opposite. So for her, like if you look at a disc profile, I'm high D, high I, like 99D, 98I. She is
that's her.
The exact,
you're my brother from another mother.
And so Annie's the exact opposite. She's high S, high C, or high C, high S, but it's very, very much on the outside of this ring, right? It's perfect because together we're whole and complete. Not that we aren't separately, but as far as it's complementary, it's like we're gears in a clock, and that's the reason it works so well. And it's really about embracing how we're different that really makes us work.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And Annie, you know this because you've been able to hear about my marriage as we share in our accountability pod. And I share very openly on this podcast about our trials. But I also want to highlight the fact that in our marriage, it's kind of funny. I didn't even think about this, Annie, when I was preparing for this. Sean is very much like Annie. He's very organized, very meticulous, systems driven. He's also earth and metal, and I am wood and fire, and it's a beautiful polarity. So I guess what I would say to the listeners, like when you look at your relationship, can you appreciate the differences and how they actually elevate your strengths and help you navigate your challenges? And so I would say that to the two of you. Can you think of a time when one of you had a challenge or a struggle or a failure, however you want to define it, and because you have that polarity with your partner, you were better able to navigate it and pull out the beauty from it?
Today? Like, it happens daily, right?
Well, you got to pick one. We can't be here all day.
What do you want to pick, baby?
Oh, I don't know. I have so many.
No, pick one.
Like with my dad.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, there's just like, there's things that come up, right? And I love, this is a Tony quote too, is the things that are different, that polarity that we're talking about is the thing that attracts us in the very beginning.
Yep.
Because that's the thing that we forgot that we had that is so appealing because we see it in the other person. And I could totally see that if I did not appreciate or learn it within myself, I would grow to resent it. Like I could see that pattern in me. And so the example I was pulling up was my dad is super against our marriage. And so he's quite antagonistic. So what was required, so like I hate conflict. You know, like we were on an attorney call the other day and John's like, this is great, right? I'm like, this is so stressful because I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be And so for me, what I had to learn with my conflict with my dad is how to bring out more of my assertive side, the confidence, holding my ground, being outspoken, being clear, you know, that whole element that was not very comfortable for me, but I see it with him. And so I lend a lot of my strength, like he's rubbing off on me, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, what would John do in this situation? And I get to step into it. And then he also provides me with that certainty too, to get me to the next level.
What I experience with her is like, it's having the assurance that she's okay. She can take a little bit of a risk. Yeah. And then for me, it's also about how she brings the compassion into me. There's times like where I've coached somebody, so I won't go into the details of it, right? But I wasn't connecting from a compassion point of view. So I was looking at it and saying, like, this is actually pretty easy. Here's what we can do. The person didn't feel heard in that moment. And then Annie's able to be right by my side and connect with the person. And as she's doing that, then I can reflect and say, oh, I see what wasn't working now. And that's where this complementary side of her and me for her obviously works. It's the power, like, and the confidence that she gains from being in my presence, and the compassion and gentleness that I gain by being in hers.
I love that so much. And that actually takes me back to some of the things that Tony taught us during our intervention. And, you know, you and I being probably similar disc, I'm assuming we're similar elements. Like, it works in certain circumstances, right? Like Tony said to me, he's like, in the courtroom, you being wood. I mean, I think I've transitioned more to fire as I've embraced my femininity and my softness, even in the way I hold my hands, like just everything is softened, you know, praise God, like, because now I'm a more aligned person. But he said, what you take to the courtroom makes you a great lawyer, but it makes you a difficult partner. I'm sure he said it in much more colorful language, if my recollection is correct. And so what's so interesting is when you're, and this is what I want to say the listener to hear, is when you're open to honest reflection about where you need to grow, your partner, you give them, I don't want to use the word permission because it sounds a little demeaning, but you create an openness for your partner to feel safe to step into that area of weakness and then use his or her strengths to strengthen you. That's what I'm hearing you say in this example. And Annie, I do know a lot about your situation with your father, and I want to get to that in a minute. So if I get off track, remind me, guys. But I want our listeners to understand that John and Annie are here not because they've made it, not because they've reached some pinnacle, but because they're in process of growing this coupleship and growing their identity, and they want to pour out to others so that it doesn't have to be so freaking hard, right?
Yes. And if I could, I'll speak into that for a second, which is this. If it's hard, good. We had incredibly hard times where we didn't think we were going to make it. There was this one particular time we were in the middle of a fight, Christine, and I really just knew that was the exact moment that I needed to take a bath. Because I needed to go hide. I needed to get
like
out.
a physical bath?
Yeah, I literally went and took a bath, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I was like, it made total sense to me. And I was like, I'll just go hide in the bathtub, right? By the way, not a great place to hide. You're kind of exposed as you're laying there nude. But but Annie comes in and she's crying, right? She's a little tear in her eye, and she says, I don't know how to make you happy. I think we need to break up. And I'm sharing this with your listeners because, first off, what a loving gesture in that exact moment. It was more than a gesture. It was a really loving response, because what she was saying is, I'd rather you're happy and that we're not together than for me to create this sadness within you. And I thought, wow, here this woman is loving me like crazy. And I can see that, hey, this is on me right now. I caused this problem. That means I also get to be the solution, and I can solve it now. I'm good at solving problems. And then love is the answer. So that really set me on this path to just say, I'm going to love this woman like crazy. So I say it's good if you're having challenges, because that's where all the growth is. Growth comes when there's hard times, not when there's always great times. So if you don't have any storms in your relationship, find some, right?
Or at least like don't run away from the challenges. I honestly don't think, if we did not have the obstacles that we had, like crazy obstacles in the very beginning, we would not have this relationship.
Not at all.
It would have been way worse, like, moving through it. So I'm actually really glad we, they say force through winter, right? Force through the hard times.
Yeah.
They talk about this in business too, if your business is created in the winter, you're good, right? In the good times. So I'm really grateful for our challenges.
We talked to this Tony trainer. Tony talks about the seasons of relationships. Comes from Michael Gurian, spring, summer, fall, winter.
Sure.
And we said, well, I think we're actually in fall. And so this is a longtime trainer. He goes, well, how long have you been together? I said, well, that's the problem. We haven't been together that long. He goes, well, tell me about your relationship. And so we walked through it. He goes, you're in fall. It's like, you guys went expedited route because you had such massive challenges. I mean, like death threats and crazy stuff, that you got to work together at this high level. So there's no doubt from his point of view that, you guys are in fall, and it's such a blessing that you had these challenges.
Well, so are we at 30 years, almost 30 years marriage. We're finally into fall because we've had such challenges that have darn near destroyed us. So you're right. It doesn't have to be chronological, but it's about the spiritual connections, and it's about what you do when those incredible challenges come that are meant by, pardon me, I'm going to say Satan. You can fill in the blank with whatever evil force you want. Yep. When Satan is meant to destroy you. Like, honestly, the things you guys have been through would destroy most couples. And so I want to, because I believe people, especially women, learn so much better through stories. I would like you guys to give us an opportunity, give the listener an opportunity to understand your story, because we've alluded to big struggles. You even just dropped the whole death threats thing. We're not passing by that, John. But I think it's important that I want our listeners to get to know you and why you are where you are, because what I don't want to do is set this up and like, oh, well, good for them, la-di-da-di-da. It feels unattainable. Because that's what I think sometimes we get that with people who are so successful. I don't think they ever mean to, most of them. But sometimes they feel so out of reach that all the people here that need what they're selling or need what they're serving is blah, 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 right? It's a Charlie Brown teacher because it feels so foreign. So, Annie, I'd like you to tell our listeners a little bit about your story. Like, because unless they're watching on YouTube, they don't see what I see before me. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. I want you to explain your physical differences, your cultural differences, and a little bit of the history.
Yeah, well, I met John when I was 25, and it was really a time of a lot of transition. I had just broken up, I moved cities, I changed jobs. There's just a lot. I mean, it moved like, yeah, there's a lot of transition in my life, and that's really where I found personal development as like, that's my first entry to Tony Robbins. And one of my big goals at the time that I didn't know I could achieve was I really wanted to find my person. I just felt like that was the one thing that would bring everything together. And I just knew that, yeah, I had health goals and money goals and career, but all of those were linked to this person that I would spend the rest of my life with. So that's how this journey became what it is. And I met him through the Tony Robbins Platinum community, which is like personal development on steroids, right? So I'm like, okay, great. Like-minded crazy people like myself. And it was a very natural connection from the first time we met. It was like he got that I was ambitious in what I wanted to do with my life, so it had very aligned values and vision. The only challenge was that my parents were not a fan of any of this, because the three things that they like really was irritating to them was that John was 17, well, he still is 17 years older than I am.
I'm getting younger.
Yeah, he's the age. I'm the
You
age.
really are. You're aging downward, my friend. Me and you both.
Yeah.
And that he was previously married, right? Divorced. Because that was a big thing that, like, my parents aren't divorced, and I don't know actually a couple of, like, one person in my family, but it's not a thing, right? Like, it's just you stay together, and it's for them, it's a definition of responsibility and commitment.
Yeah.
So they didn't like that he was divorced and that he had 3 kids. So, yeah, I keep on talking in the past. Well, he has now 4 kids because, you know, this one's on the way. But there were just some things that weren't in the blueprint of what they expected their daughter to have in her 20s, right? They were expecting a totally different life. So to really cut that short is I was disowned from the family. And I really do think in retrospect, it was really their way to protect me. It's just the talking, like the talking didn't persuade me, right? And they tried all the tools of trying to get me to see that this was the bad decision for my life. And it escalated to death threats and disowning me. And it was one of the biggest moments of my life because it caused a lot of pain and rejection within me. It really brought up a lot of my fears and my inner demons about abandonment, right? And not good enough. And my parents, which I was taught is the people who will love me forever, is completely rejecting me and not talking to me. So it was just, I had to grow so much in myself to really be me, like be a whole and complete person and have my own opinions and be confident. So, you know, fast forward, and this was about 2 years ago. So fast forward, you know, I got married. They weren't at my wedding. And then we did a lot of work with TLC and Tony Robbins and all of this, really to help me find my responsibility in all of this. And how can I love them no matter what they do, because I can't force them to have a relationship with me or think whatever it is, but I get to love them for just who they are. And so as a result of that, I have a great relationship with my family. My mom, my brother, I mean, they really do love him. My dad is the one that's a little bit more resistant, but I think he's starting to come around too. It's just, there's been no pressure on any of them to do anything.
Sorry, give me 1 second. My apologies.
That's
Hey,
okay.
this is a real podcast, and we just take it real. So sometimes when your child is FaceTiming you from Costa Rica on her honeymoon, you just got to delete it.
Oh,
It's okay. No, I mean, I can't tell you. My listeners know, like I just roll with it. If the dog barks, like John says, good. FaceTime? Good. We're just going to keep rolling because I am riveted. Keep going. I want to hear why it's good and why it's improving.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's no pressure for them to do anything, and I think
That part.
it's so weird to say that separation from my family actually was probably the best thing for my relationship with each of my family members because I got to learn how to create boundaries. Like my grandparents treat me with different behaviors than any one of the grandkids. And I got a lot more intentional about how I wanted my relationship to be with my mom and my brother, right? Before it was just like, yeah, they're my, he's my sibling, I'm gonna do whatever. But now it's like, because there's such a scarcity in how I'm able to interact with them, I'm so intentional about this is how I want this person to feel and what is really the purpose of going to California to see them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm here to show them that they are loved, that I'm here. So and in my other relationships as well, I would say I used to be so judgmental of others. I mean, I judge like everyone judges, right? But I used to be so critical about everything and judge people like, oh, this person is not whatever enough and I'm not on my friend circle, whatever. And now I have so much more compassion towards myself because that's really where it comes from. It's judgment towards myself, right? I have so much more compassion for me. I'm really happy with where I am. And then I think the people around me feel that too. And they feel accepted as well.
Okay, so I want to speak to that real quick. And then, John, I want to get your perspective on this because obviously this was Annie's family, but being rejected by, the family of the love of your life, that's no picnic. But Annie, I want to speak something over you because you just said something so, so, so important that, facing the loss, and I love that you use the word scarcity, the scarcity of the acceptance. Actually, it's about what we focus on, right? And the meaning that we give it. And you chose to give meaning and power to what you can learn and change about you. Because this works for the coupleship, right? Like we can't change our spouse, we can't change our partner, but what I believe has allowed Sean and I to stay together and really deepen our connection in ways that were just unimaginable 5-10 years ago is that I decided, and this is the phrase that we use, especially in the sex addiction world, I decided to stay on my side of the street and tend to my own yard. And what I did is I tended to my own yard, and then we built a beautiful fence, a low-hanging fence, because I'm a tiny person like Annie. We built a fence, and what I stopped doing is reaching over and pulling his weeds and planting his garden and telling him where to, put the patio furniture. No, I took care of my own garden. I use this obviously very proverbially. I took care of my own self. I took care of my own, I got curious. What can I change? What can I learn? Where can I grow? And at the end of the day, he's going to have to be responsible for the man he is and the partner he wants to be for me, because I'm only guaranteed to be with me for the rest of my days. And you did that in your family. And I don't, John, maybe you can even speak this. It makes us more magnetic. And when we become more magnetic, the people around us will go, she's different. Wonder why? And then they soften. And if they don't, that's on them. But it sounds to me like that's worked, and it's made you a more grounded, more rooted, and a more joyful person. I've seen you change in the last year and a half that we've known each other. So, John, in your experience, you've heard Annie's version of it. Tell us, one, how did that feel? And two, how did you respond? And then how do you navigate it today? That was a 3-part question. I'll remind you if you forget.
Yeah, I'll probably forget because I'll just go on to a story. And
That's all right. I'll direct you.
Right. So first off, the story's beautiful. In hindsight, it's an unbelievable story where a young lady, after meeting me for about a month, chose me over her family. Right? That's what happened.
That sounds so spontaneous and irresponsible.
There was that much love. And she moved to Las Vegas. She gave up her life in San Francisco in order to move to Vegas. She said it was because Maureen was here, but
it was for work.
She loves Maureen. Yeah, it was not for work. But
It was a more reasonable response than for a
right.
guy.
And so then I saw like these battles with her dad, which was really painful for her, and my woman was hurting. And so if someone was looking, if I was looking from the outside, it sounds almost surreal. And so there's layers underneath it though, because as this was occurring, I had my own battles, right? And so she chose me over her family, which is amazing in hindsight. And in the moment, it was like, it didn't matter so much to me because I had my own shit that was going on, pardon my language, but this is real. And I was in the middle of a divorce and I was trying to figure out what does it look like with my kids? And my business wasn't doing amazing. It was doing okay at the time, but it wasn't amazing. So I've got all of that stuff. And then I was feeling like I wasn't enough for whatever reason. And so then layered on top of that, she's in pain and I'm listening to these conversations. I'm watching her cry. And so I'm disliking this man that I don't even know because why? In hindsight, again, he's protecting his daughter. At the moment, I was like, what a jerk. How dare he how could anybody treat their daughter this way? And it was incredibly judgmental of him. I had zero compassion for this man who was suffering, right? But the beauty of all of this, and this is where the growth to me was, and you've probably seen this in her, and certainly I've seen it in her and in myself, thanks to her, is that today I just have total and complete compassion for this man, understanding that, one, he was doing what he knew how to do to protect his daughter. And he was willing to do whatever it takes to protect her.
You had compassion for him during too. Like he would remind me.
I've said it, but I did not have compassion in my heart.
Oh, I think we have a confessional going on here. I'm just warning you.
Like I don't want to talk to him anymore. Like my dad, right? Like, I don't want to text him. I'm gonna do this. Like and then he would remind me, like, of the the right thing to do, like the responsible thing to do.
So that was for you.
Yeah. So okay, those ones.
Yeah, I was loading the rifle as I was telling you that.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody's getting death threats, I don't blame you for loading the rifle, my friend. I joke about something very serious because that's the way I cope. But I was thinking about this in terms of the coupleship. Like you guys just gave a really beautiful example of how if we're focused on doing what the most loving, the most helpful, and the most compassionate thing we can do for our hurting partner. And it oftentimes means dying to those really strong emotions. And my fellow high D, high I friend here, that is not easy for us to turn that off. And I'm going to say turn that shit off because it is a powerful, fierce driver in people that are wired like us to protect and to step in and to sometimes like conflict, bring it. Not always the helpful response to our more gentler partners.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I think one of my biggest takeaways from all of this experience, which again, it was incredibly challenging on so many different levels, but it was to be what my partner needs, not be what I need. If I'm thinking about me, then there's no hope. If I'm thinking about my partner, then there is hope. There's something that I can give to her in that moment. And I was able to just give that to her. So if she was feeling sad, I get to be there with her as she's in that with her dad, not making him wrong either. And to know that what she really wants is this connection. She wants him to feel loved. So, okay, help her be there, help her do whatever. And at one point, the highest level of challenge, and she talks about this in her TEDx, which is a beautiful speech, by the way, about this whole subject.
Oh, I know.
We went to the house.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, let's just go. Right. And so we drove up and we're driving up to this, the rough street. I was about to say the name of the street, but we pulled into a parking lot because her brother called and said, he's out front. He's with the dog. He has a gun. And it's like, okay, what do we do? He's not going to shoot you. So, and I was joking with her brother, say, okay, well, I'll go get a rifle, I'll, whatever. I was totally kidding. This is not all about guns, but it was like a real thing. It was a real threat. And in my head, I was thinking, how can I possibly put my wife in a situation where she might get harmed? And that made the decision because I had to believe, like wholeheartedly, that there's no way this man who's willing to go to this length to really protect her would hurt her. There's zero chance that he would do that. So is faith. Faith is a huge part of a great relationship, and at least this experience with Annie is just have faith in each other, faith in God, faith in, or whatever higher power anyone believes in, faith in her father, faith in her mom, brother, everyone, that she's going to be fine. And it worked out so amazingly well. So just to complete the story, it was, so we walked up and he was very mad, totally rejecting me. Just slowly, she walked up first and confronted him. But not like confrontation. It was a loving confrontation. And she was doing Ho'oponopono. I probably said that wrong. As she was walking
You
up.
missed a few syllables, but it's fine. Ho'oponopono. Oh gosh, the Hawaiian prayer forgiveness. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Doing that, and I'm sitting in the car, and she went up and she hugged him and was showing him love, and she ended up going in the house, and so I sat in the car all day in the drive, and it was amazing because the neighbors came out in this one moment, and she was one of the neighbors, and she was carrying this box. She was going to FedEx.
Oh my God.
And so I was bored out of my mind sitting there. So I was like, well, can I help you? And she's like dropping the box. Well, hop in the car. I'll drive you to FedEx. So I'm like chauffeuring people around town now to make it happen. And our grandparents saw it.
So my grandparents live with my parents, right? That's just the Asian culture. And like literally they're like, Annie, your husband just like it's like, it was like the most miraculous like Good Samaritan thing, right? Like, oh my God, he just helped the neighbors with the thing. He's such a good person. So they were all gossiping about him upstairs. And but it was just like him doing what he does.
And so it got to have an impact.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen, that experience for her grandparents, if we decide to not go over that day. If I decided to not subjugate my ego and to the benefit of the entire family. If I was thinking about me, there's no way in hell I sit in front of this house while my wife is inside. Who knows what's happening in there, right? Subjugate my ego completely and just say, I'm in service today. I love these people. I trust them. I have faith.
I love that so much. And well, thank you for telling us the context of the story, because I didn't want to dance around it, because it is so foundational to what has created your couple identity and fueled your mission of Love Jaam, which we're going to get to in a minute. And so I want our listeners to understand, like, when you see a couple that you envy what what you think they have, whether my husband and I are very physically affectionate. We're always touching, always holding hands. I'm always rubbing his head. Like, it's so second nature. When I think about our couple identity, it's very physically affectionate. We just physically enjoy each other. So we've had people say, oh, I'd give anything for that. I wish my husband would touch me. What I would say to the couple or the person listening, when you look at your coupleship, just remember, behind every great couple is probably a really powerful set of stories. And like you said, John, we navigate challenges that make us stronger or they break us apart. We get to often choose which path we want to take based upon what we're willing to, what the meaning we're willing to give it. And you gave meaning to that experience that day at Annie's house. You said, I love this woman. I'm not going to put her in harm's way, but I'm going to choose to have faith that God, the universe, is going to conspire to bring beauty from ashes. And in one small, tiny act that just flows out of who you are as a human, you started to melt the iceberg, if you will. Yeah. So first of all, I honor both of you. I adore you both. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation, because I just know Annie and I get to know you, John, through her. But I wanted to, in our remaining time here, talk a little bit about what it means or what it's looked like for the two of you to create a couple identity. And I don't have any specific guidance for this. I'm going to let the two of you talk about that, because in doing so, I want you to talk a little bit about your Love Jaam mission and what you hope to bring into this world. But I want the listener to hear and be inspired by the idea and the goal of creating a couple identity.
You want to start?
Well, maybe I'll kick it off just a little bit. And it actually came up by accident for us. We went to a date with destiny where we defined our individual values, our vision, et cetera. Tony has us do this beautiful poster working through all of this, right? And we looked at each other. This is our second date with destiny. So this is in 2021. We said, why don't we do this as a couple? And so we literally created a date with destiny couples poster of what are our couples values.
I'm writing that down. Hang on. Let me get my pen out.
Yeah, it's such a powerful exercise. But I wanted to make sure I captured that, because early in the relationship, if I could give one piece of advice, and I don't love giving advice, but this is the one I will give, really lay out what are my values, my vision, my mission, and then see where there's overlap. Look for what matches, not the mismatch.
Yeah.
And then the goal is, how do you take the match and grow the match? Don't worry about the mismatch. That's who you are as a person. Look for the matches, because that is where the clock gears are coming together. That's where the opposites are working well together. So that would be my input. What do you think, baby?
I forgot what I was going to say.
That's right. You're pregnant. You're growing a human. You're allowed to have a, well, while you're thinking about Annie, John, I just wanted to say something in response to that, because this isn't something you do once and it's done. Like my husband and I, we literally just had a conversation today, because as I have stepped into my femininity and he is really flourishing in his masculinity, because it's been the opposite the majority of our marriage, I am growing my business, as Annie knows, and I hired a legal assistant, and I'm contemplating having her go full time, and also building my speaking and my social media, my podcast, which is what we're doing. And so part of what I've been doing is bringing Sean more into those decisions, which is really hard for a high D, high I control freak who is also extremely impulsive and gets very excited. So what I've done is I've asked his opinion, and of course I did not like his opinion. I did not agree with his opinion. So what I did is I said, okay, what can I do to honor his masculinity, honor his opinion, but also honor my wisdom as the business owner, because I am the one running the business. So what I did is I then reached out to my accountability partner, Vid, and you probably, I don't know if you know Brett Wibble, he's also in our life, and I got some different perspectives. But what I did is I pumped the brakes enough to honor him. And so, John, this may be an example. What you said is then today, he just today, and we've been married almost 30 years. He just said to me on the phone, actually, about an hour before we got on, he's like, whether you agree with me or not, I feel so much more masculine because you listened and you contemplated and you sought advice from people we both trust. And it's all, you're always learning. So that would be one of those matches where I'm still learning. How can I honor him and honor our differences, still making my decision, and in a way that helps him feel seen, heard, and valued? Yeah. And so what I want the listener to hear is you're always learning. You're always growing. You're always evolving, because the people that we are today is vastly different than we were even 2 or 3 years ago. So now that I've talked, Annie, did you come up with something?
Well, I came up with something new.
Okay, well, take it away, sister.
I think it's just how I see my relationship, and it may be different for different people, right? But when before meeting him, I've always had this vision of we would build this thing together, and it would be I saw myself and him doing everything together, kind of I don't want to get into politics, but there's an example of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, and it was just that was really inspiring to me. So that was the vision that I was pursuing. So and I've created that because now in everything that I do, I have a perfect partner that we're aligned in our values. We want to go when they say find a business partner, make sure your incentives are aligned. Our incentives are super aligned, right? And I found this partner that is a match so that I can stay in my strength, and that I can leverage that to him, and he loves staying in his strength, and we're excellent complements to each other. So when I think about identity, it's we're building, if I put it in a business analogy, it's we're building this company together. That's the vision. and we each bring different elements of it. And so when people see us as a unit, they see us as one thing. There's not much separation. I'll give you an example. Is in business, we have an advisory business for helping business owners sell their business, right? And so they know that they can rely on him for the strategy and the negotiation and the high level big picture. Like it's brilliant how he handles workflows and people. He's great with people. And they also know that with me, nothing gets missed. It's like I've got the system and the structure, and it's the combination of this that I think that is the most magnetic thing about why people come to us. It's like, wow, you guys work so well together, and you bring all of these things that I generally don't find in one single person, because we're not one single person. We're a team, right? So
Right.
that's what I think about our couple's identity.
I love that. And I think what I'm taking away from this conversation, the biggest takeaway for me is that, and I think it sums up in what you said, John, is like, take the time to be intentional about creating that couple vision and then find the matches, because it's so rare that you get two people who end up in a partnership or a marriage that are the same. It's just not, I mean, I'm sure it happens. Of course, there's always exceptions, but I think more often than not, the vast majority of couples are drawn to each other like magnets, because they see something in that partner that they don't have, that they want, that they enjoy. My husband said to me when we were dating, he's like, part of the reason I was so drawn to you is your energy and you just are vibrant and excited, and he's very steady, and I need that, because Lord knows without him I'd be like that balloon, like spinning off in the atmosphere. So I love that. All right. So to wrap up, guys, what I want you to do is give us an opportunity to understand Love Jaam, what it is you do, what your mission is, and where people can find an opportunity to work with you. Because I could talk to you guys all day long, but what I really want to do is help people understand what you're bringing into the world.
Go ahead, baby.
I think, how I see our mission is we just want people to be happy, and the intimate relationship that is such a fulfilling part. I know for me, when my love life is great, everything else, it could suck, right? But everything else is great. And if there's conflict within us, then I can't function. So I really see the relationship, and the Harvard study proves this. It's really the source of happiness. Right? Relationship is a source of happiness. So we want to be able to, if people are struggling in their relationship, to help them through that and get to the other side. And for people who are pretty happy with their marriage, how do you take it one notch more so it becomes a superpower that supercharges all these other areas, as we've experienced?
And if I could layer into that just a little bit, I'd say, really what we're here to do is just help provide some guidance on how to get through the seasons of a relationship, especially spring and summer, because we've been blessed to be able to go through that. And then in that process, it's really about learning and I'm going to say there's three things, but there's usually chemistry when a relationship starts. We call it the 3 C's, right? And then what we get to go through the spring process is learning about committing to each other. And we talk about the challenges with commitment, because we come in as independent people, and now we're all of a sudden giving up independence to be dependent. And that's one of the first battles, and it's an internal thing. So we help people understand that pattern. And then it's the next pattern that's the real challenge. A lot of people go into summer, and unfortunately, they don't learn the next key to even a great life. It's compassion, which you may have heard that we've mentioned that a few times. And you've shared it too, by the way, the level of compassion that you've started expressing with your man, allowing him to move into that masculine nature and seeing each other. So that's what we do, Christine, is we help people just see what are the common patterns, so that way they can predict what's coming next, so that they work through it. Because if they don't work through it, they're doomed to repeat it. And so really it's about that, about making love effortless, because it really can be, if we understand what's coming next, and here's what I get to learn from this experience.
I love that so much. I'm like sitting here just like a little girl just listening, and it's encouraging for me, because as tragic as some of the things are that have happened in our marriage, we have so many fundamentals that are absolutely rock solid. Like We walk every day. We talk about everything. He calls me in the car. I always know where he is. Not because I track him, because I don't even have time to track myself, but it's because there's just this deep well of connection. And you're right. It's about like, it's anticipation, it's respect, it's appreciation, and it's also knowing who you are, which is why I do this podcast, because when a woman knows who she is, it's game on. It's game on. She is magnetic. She's irresistible. She's alive. And then she can be that beautiful puzzle piece to that man.
I totally agree. And I hear this a lot, is like we want our men to lead. There's a great way to do it. It's to do what you just said, with your husband, that you said, I'm going to follow right now. That's my job. Is I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to respect him. I'm going to adore him. I'm going to admire this man. I'm going to take his input and apply it into the business. Maybe not the way he suggested, but I took it into consideration, is what you shared.
Yeah.
And you honored him greatly. And I'm so grateful that you're sharing that kind of information, because there's so many men that are struggling with this because we aren't taught nowadays. There's a great book, Iron John. I highly recommend it for any woman that wants to understand men even better. Read the book Iron John by Robert Bly, because we understand how we became the men we are today and what's missing. That's biological, right? That what we're missing. So you also asked how to find us, and,
Yes,
and I've got to wrap up here in a second, so I want to share that with you. So we have a live event coming up actually next week here in Las Vegas. We do it every quarter, and so you can find that at events with an S .lovejaam is with 2 A's.com. And we'd love to see people there. I think we're going to have 20, 25 people or so at this next event. It was put together. We've actually made it even bigger this time, leveraging some of the experience of people that have worked with Lauren LaHave and Tony Robbins, and taking it up a whole nother notch. But people leave the room with transformation. And then we work with them over the 12 weeks after that through a mastermind, so we can continually elevate. The way I'd say is we're the implementation people. Right? We're not just going to come here for knowledge. We are all about implementing the knowledge that we may have gained elsewhere and taking it to a completely new level. So anyone that's interested, you can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, all of that too. And you can find John and Annie Meng. We have our own accounts, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. I'll have all that in the show notes. I love you two so much. I love what you're doing in the world. And obviously, John, I adore your beautiful bride and mother to be here. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your beautiful wisdom and your story. You guys are incredible.
Thank you, Christine. We'll talk soon.
Oh my goodness. That conversation was such fire. It was so profound. I'm actually getting a little teary, even just thinking about all that John and Annie shared with us today on this episode. Here's the thing. I've known Annie for a year and a half, almost 2 years, but we've been in this mastermind. We've traveled together. We've shared together. I've done some coaching of her with her TEDx talk. She's now in my pod. I've had a lot of opportunities to witness this beautiful young woman unfold and emerge and heal and settle. And now to meet her beautiful partner, I just feel so blessed myself and so inspired to do better, be better, and love better. So if you enjoyed this episode with John and Annie, make sure you follow them. They are such positive forces in, frankly, a hurting world. You can find them in all the places. Everything will be in the show notes. And please, if you love this episode, don't hide it. Share it with anybody you think could benefit from John and Annie's story and from the Girl Out of Order podcast in general. And please, please, please rate and review us. Help us get the message out so we can continue to change this world. And remember, never, never, never stop being a girl out of order, because the world needs what only you, sister, can provide. We will see you next time.